Hey, and welcome to another week of Late Night Take Three. It's another small panel this week. We may have some other people sort of pop in throughout the time, but at the moment it's just me and my guest, Kevin. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well, Malcolm. Thank you for having me on. Look forward to discussing some uh, book adaptations. That's the topic for the evening, and whatever else comes up. So yeah, just looking
Yeah,
for a good late night on Take Three.
yeah, yeah. So, as always, we talk about other movie news that's happening. So I'm going to start with the box office. While I just do this first. Uh, um, but yeah, so box office from last week. It's been a bit of a shake up. Like a lot of the movies that have been in there for so many long weeks have fell out. But our box office this week at number one, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog. It brought in $58 million.
Yeah,
Birds of Prey came in second. It got 17.3 million. Fantasy Island came in third. It got 12.4. Photograph came in at fourth, which surprised me. Coming in at 12.2 million. Bad Wolf's Life sort of rounds out the top five at 11.5. Kevin, what are your sort of thoughts on what the box office did?
I was kind of surprised by the Sonic, taking over the top spot. I found out doing some research that it is the new record holder for a video game movie. So I think that's pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, I'm just surprised. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that they redid it, or maybe just Jim Carrey. Or it's just Sonic, and maybe they're selling to the parents, people our age that remember Sonic, and it's kind of nostalgic to them. It's still something noisy, the dings and all that for the kids. So kind of plays
Yeah.
to both of the yeah, it plays to the both crowds. So I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked that it's one, but I'm kind of just shocked by the amount that it brought in.
I mean, I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, that's kind of numbers that I kind of expected Birds of Prey to do for its opening weekend. Because, boys, a big property like that to do that well was kind of expected.
Yeah,
I think it's because I know there's a big push for people to go see it, even if they didn't really care for the trailer. The initial, but because they did listen to the fans and redo it, which I never agreed with that kind of sentiment at all. I mean, I did go see Sonic, even though I'm really not a big fan of the character at all. But it's a decent movie. Like Jim Carrey's sort of back to his classic shtick, but yeah, it's it's definitely interesting. But that's this week. But we're going to sort of see if we can predict what's going to happen next week. So, opening this week, we've got The Call of the Wild and The Boy Two Brahms, or Brahms the Boy Two, whichever way they want to do it. But yeah, what do you feel? What do you think about the movies opening up this week in wide release, and what do you think the top five at the box office will be?
um, the as far as the ones opening this week, I looked up some stuff about I know I remember seeing the first Brahms the Boy. Um, I didn't like it, and I know it got some poor reviews. I know they're kind of going a different route this time, so that could definitely affect, the outcome of the box office. But I guess that's to be seen. As far as the Call of the Wild, that's a little more interesting because it's Harrison Ford. the cartoon dog thing, that'll be interesting to see, I guess. But yeah, as far as my box office predictions, um, I'm gonna predict Sonic is gonna stay at number one, and Birds of Prey is gonna hang on to number two. I could see probably The Call of the Wild coming in number three, and even Brahms the Boy 2 at four, just for sake of newness, and then maybe Fantasy Island at five.
Yeah, that's relatively similar to what I have. I've got Brahms the Boy coming in at five. I mean, it's a horror movie, and horror movies seem to do decent, and I think the boy movies have been relatively sort of low budget ones anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in at four, I think Fantasy Island's going to hang in there a little bit. I've got Call of the Wild at three. I mean that's purely because of the name recognition of Harrison Ford alone, plus
Same
the fact
here.
it's a well known book, and well, at least among the older crowd, so it's going to be interesting to sort of see how that goes. And Birds of Prey staying at two and Sonic at one, I think, two that are pretty much given. There's really not a lot of movies coming out that's going to go crazy until Onward is officially out in theaters. When you look at sort of what's coming out over the next few weeks, but we did have a few trailers drop. We had a trailer for a new Secret Garden movie, which I didn't even know was happening until the trailer dropped.
Yeah.
We got a movie for Jesse Eisenberg movie called Vivarium. Got a trailer for Endings, Beginnings, and a trailer for one. Did you watch any of these trailers, and sort of what stood out to you?
I did. I watched all of them, and I'd say the one that stood out the most. There were actually two. The Vivarium trailer stood out because it's a little strange to me. I don't really know what to expect. I looked up the director. His name is Lorcan Finnegan. I guess he's an Irish director, and he only has 3 titles, and none of them are any big name features or anything. So this will be his first big film, and it's just basically about. I just wrote a little blurb, just trapped in a labyrinth, a maze of identical houses. So it's I don't know. It just looks weird, and I like those kind of movies, so that one is definitely intriguing. The endings and beginnings, that is Shailene Woodley and Jamie Dornan, just didn't really interest me at all. The Run movie, that one kind of caught my eye with Sarah Paulson. I'm a big horror thriller fan, but that one is more of a I don't know what to expect from that one. It's coming out on Mother's Day, and it's about a mother that has kind of a little too much control over her child, it appears. And the child starts to see run everywhere. The child's in a wheelchair. The mother's in control of her medication, and so on and so forth. So you start to wonder if it's like a Munchausen's thing or if it's in her head. And then you start to hear the "you need me" coming from Sarah Paulson's character, the mother. So it's like, can she even possibly walk? The child. So I don't know. That's another weird one. So I guess the weird ones appealed to me this week.
Yeah. I mean, I like the look of the the Secret Garden movie. It's a book that I remember reading when I was a kid, and that movie just looks really good. It just looks well done in what I kind of expected. And similarly, Vivarium and Run, I thought were strange, but then it's like they look so strange and intriguing. You want to go watch the movie to find out what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
And I mean, Run is actually directed by the same person who did Searching with John Cho. When I found that out, that trailer disappointed me a little bit because it doesn't look like they used that same technique um, of inside the camera sort of thing. But
Hmm.
there could be some other crazy things that he does in it that he's just not showing in the trailers.
Sure, sure.
But now we get into the various other movie TV news that we got. Jude Law and Taika Waititi are teaming up for a new TV series called The Auteur. Tom Holland has confirmed that Uncharted will be a Nathan Drake origin story. Scott Cooper is directing Margaret Qualley in a movie Head Full of Ghosts. Lee Fennell has said, sort of in interviews, that he wants to get Wyatt Russell for the Escape from New York remakes reboot. WWE wrestler Sasha Banks has been cast in The Mandalorian season 2. Ruth Wilson and Matt Bomer are signing on to the Book of Ruth, which is a movie about Ruth Coker Burks, who's an AIDS advocate. Martin McDonough is reteaming with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson on a project that nothing much was out said to that. Jurassic Park 3 has added Deachin Lockman and Scott Hayes to the cast. The voice of the Martian Manhunter in the DC animated series, Carl Lumbly, has joined the cast of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Christoph Waltz and Guy Pearce is going to star in a movie called The Portable Door. Willem Dafoe, Tiffany Haddish, and Ty Sheridan sign on for a movie called The Card Counter. Jennifer Lawrence has joined the cast of Don't Look Up. Liam Neeson is going to star in an English remake of The Memory of a Killer. Eli Roth is directing a Borderlands movie. Anthony Hopkins is going to be in a biopic of Mike Tyson's trainer, Cass D'Amato. And Chris Pratt has said in an interview that Jurassic World 3 is going to be somewhat of an Avengers Endgame type movie in which they're going to bring has ever been in a Jurassic Park franchise movie and just come to a classic thing. Hopefully that doesn't mean we're going to get time traveling dinosaurs, but anything is possible now. Any of those news sort of speak to you, Kevin?
Of course, The Mandalorian news. I'm a big Star Wars buff, so that always is exciting to me. Anything Star Wars. The another thing that is big to me is Game of Thrones. So I just wanted to throw one little Game of Thrones tidbit in here. Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. They set their first TV deal with Netflix. It's a $200 million show called The Chair with Sandra Oh, who is she's in Killing Eve and Grey's Anatomy. So that should be awesome, I assume. Yeah, but you covered pretty much everything, and yeah, I mean, I'm excited about everything as far as TV and movies. I try to keep up with as much TV as possible, but it's hard when you're watching movies back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like a lot of these news are for movies that sound interesting on paper. You just don't know what they could be for. But I mean, the one thing that I think is really interesting is if it happens, because as far as I know, this Escape from New York reboot is still in development and could end up not happening. But
Sure.
but to get White Russell, the son of Kurt Russell, to play that character is, in my opinion, a great move because one, it keeps it in the family, and two, he can keep that same mannerism, and it's going to be feel like you're watching Kurt Russell again. It's like,
Exactly.
and that's a smart move if that happens. I mean,
Yeah,
but
and
I
not
mean,
to mention, you said that working with Lee Vanell, right?
yeah, Lee for
Yeah,
now for Saw, yeah,
yeah, from Saw, right? So that to me was also, as soon as you said that, it clicked in my head. I was like, that'd be awesome right there. If it doesn't end up in what the development hell as they call it, but well,
yeah,
hopefully not.
but yeah, um, but I mean, for me, the thing that I just found funny was the Chris Pratt story that came out when he said that it's going to be similar to Endgame. I just found that funny that he just that's the first comparison he thought of to do that. You know, if it's like, because I mean, and it's true they're bringing in a lot of people who's been in past movies before. But Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Goldblum are coming back again. And you've got Justice Smith from Fallen Kingdom, and you've got a couple of people from the first Jurassic World as well coming back as well. I can't remember who they are now,
That's crazy.
but I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, and I mean, hopefully it kind of ends that kind of saga. And I mean, I'm one of the people that actually do like the recent Jurassic World movies. I don't hate them. And I know me and movie opinions. I'm probably always wrong, um, but I still think they're fun movies. But I think that and for this to truly be an endgame style movie, it needs to sort of end the saga and contain it, and then if they want to do a spin off and do something different, because I mean, there was definitely a major criticism with the first Jurassic World was like, oh, it's just Jurassic Park again, but the one difference, the park is actually functional. So I mean,
Exactly.
but yeah, but that's been the movie news. It's been relatively light, like not a lot to kind of talk about in this. But I'm going to bring out a couple of comments from Garth. We're talking about Call of World. He thinks it's going to be a big flop because the CGI dogs don't look good. I mean,
It does look bad.
I mean, I don't not saying you're wrong, but it could be a flop. But I still think it's going to make enough money to still end up in the top five, just because.
Sure.
Because I mean, if you look at the other ones that are there, if they all sort of make about half their money back from because it's one of those things I've noticed a lot of times. Some movies take big drops and drop about 50%. So it means that some of them are going to only get $3 million. So it could make enough to get in there, even though it may have a big budget. The
Right.
other one he brought up is that it's nice to hear that about the Ruth Coker Burks movie that's being made.
Mhm.
And apparently he's rooting for it. But I would talk about more. I just don't know anything about it, and I don't want to say anything that could turn out to be
Right.
used against me.
Same here.
But I mean, but talking about books that kind of somewhat segues into our main topic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so there's been so many book adaptations out there. There's the traditional ones, which is like straight adaptations. There's the things like Clueless, 10 Things I Hate About You, that adapt it but twist it in a way that it's different from the actual source material.
Mhm.
But what are some of your favorite book adaptations that have been made?
I'll start. I got a couple that are good, kind of like you said, twisted out of the source material. One I'll start with is Easy A. It's a pretty recent Emma Stone movie. Of course, references the Scarlet Letter. Both deal with hypocrisy. Um, uh, the uh, the Scarlet Letter, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Uh, I'm sure everyone's read that throughout high school at some point. So that's one. Another is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Is based loosely upon the Odyssey by Homer. That one I always loved, especially. I love it now just as much as I loved it when it came out. And when I found out the ties in with the Odyssey, I think I loved it even more. John Goodman's character being Cyclops, and he has the eye patch, and just little things like that, the sirens and such. Those things appeal to me. But as far as basic, just straight up, um, you know, book to movies. I've got The Godfather is one of my absolute favorites. Got to have that one. Mario Puzo, Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club, Winston Groom's Forrest Gump, which I do understand that Winston Groom is not completely happy with the translation of Forrest Gump to the screen. Jaws, written by Peter Benchley. Um, Misery by Stephen King, another Stephen King, Shawshank Redemption, and keeping with Stephen King, It. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and speaking of Jurassic Park, that one as well by Michael Crichton. Those are just a few, but yeah.
But yeah, those that know me know that one of my major ones that book adaptations I like that has resulted in some of those actors appearing in my most watched people at the stage of this year is Harry Potter. But
I left that one for you.
yeah, I get it. That those movies just been done so well, and um, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the eventual sort of remake that readaptation that will end up happening down the road.
That will be.
Well,
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. We're old, and they'll be the D's will be eight. Oh God, those are old. We need new movies now.
yeah,
That will be interesting to see how they're interpreted and remade. You're absolutely right.
and I mean it's one of those things I don't want to talk about some of my favorite movies being remade, but it's like it's probably eventually going to happen because I mean
Yeah.
we're looking at it now. They're getting a lot of remakes, like talking about remakes. There was Murder on the Orient Express that was remade a few years ago. Um, we saw a new version of Emma just this year, which technically opens tomorrow, but it's only limited, so it's probably not going to affect the box office until it's actually gone wide.
Mm-hmm.
But inside that Emma's already out here, and I've seen it. It's really good. But but I mean, I also sort of the Middle Earth movies are ones I really like as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like 10 Things I Hate About You. Pretty much all the Shakespeare adaptations that have been done, I've liked.
Sure.
I've not really hated any of them.
What's your opinion on the Lion King as far as Shakespeare versus the Kimba the White Lion thing. Or
As
do
mu-
you have an opinion?
as much as Kirk Kowalski will argue Lion King is definitely Hamlet. You could argue it's not to get blue in the face. That episode of Rangam is still there. People can still go and find out your opinion on that. Um, I really do think you're awesome, Kirk, but still. um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great ones out there. Uh, like even when look at Jane Austen, who's also had a lot of good adaptations. Like you got Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. So is a lot that have been done really well. But to flip the script now, is any book adaptations that you've hated, Kevin?
Ooh, as far as it's hard to say hated. That's a strong word to use. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Charlotte's Web adaptation, um, because I felt like the music took away from the seriousness of the story. Um, I would say,
Is it both adaptations or just the recent one with Dakota Fanning?
oh no, I was actually referring to, well, I guess I would be referring to both. I was referring to just the old cartoon. Yeah,
I was just checking. I wasn't sure if you're picking on one or the other or
right.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, I was just kind of picking on the cartoon when I was just thinking about that, but you're right. Yeah, kind of both. Um, uh, I haven't read many of the Bond books, but I feel like I got more out of those books than the movies. And maybe that's just a purely loss of translation, me being an American versus it being a British spy novel. Um, as Angels and Demons, I absolutely love that book. I have a tattoo that's an ambigram because of that novel. And I feel like that was totally not done right on screen. Whereas I loved the Da Vinci Code. So I love that whole Robert Langdon series, but I don't think they did Angels and Demons, and I also don't think they even did the third one either correctly. Which is why I'm glad they're going to scrap that and kind of go to a TV show and not continue with the movies. But as far as hating, I mean, that, like I said, that's a strong word, and I don't necessarily hate any of them. It's just I can find little things to not like about them necessarily, but um, there are just things here and there. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to bring up something I actually brought up in there, I actually like the Robert Langdon movies.
sure.
And I mean, I get that Angels Demons may not have been done correctly, but I personally think that was because they tried to make that movie set after the Vinci Code, where the book is actually set before, so
Before, right?
which kind of messed up a lot.
It did.
And I mean, I bet Inferno was probably all over the place, but I mean, it was still enjoyable enough.
Right.
Um, and I mean, I would have loved to see what the
The Lost
Lost
Symbol,
Symbol
yeah.
would have been like as a movie. Because it's been one of those things with their production that they've jumped all about. Because I mean, even though the Angels Dream was the first one they did, they started with Da Vinci Code, which is the more well-known one.
Right.
Then they went back to Angels Dream, and then they completely skipped the Lost Symbol, which was the next one out. Then jumped to Inferno.
Right. Right.
And I think there's just been a new book out too, which I can't really remember what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah. Uh, I can't remember the name of it either, but you're right. There has been.
But I mean, this TV show does sound like it's going to be really interesting. Though,
Hmm.
whatever it's going to be about, and I think they've said it's going to be somewhat of a lost symbol. It's going to be a lost symbol. I don't quite know if that's true or not, but yeah. But like for me, one the book adaptations. I mean, the one I really hated was I really hated what they did with Aragon. Um, that's something that could
I
have
could
been
see
done.
that.
That's something that should have been done in a 3 hour movie similar to Lord of the Rings and done justice.
I, gue-
Um,
I guess I could say I hated how they did The Hobbit. I mean, as much as I like those films, I'm not going to sit there and say I hate those films. I just it didn't need three films. That's all. That's all there is to it. It's a what 120 pages little novel. I mean, if that.
I mean, to be fair, it didn't need two, which was the original plan.
Right,
Um,
right, right, right. So, I mean, if we're, yeah, yeah, I didn't think about that either, but yeah, I was just throwing that out there.
yeah, I mean, The Hobbit is probably one of those ones which is going to be put up a lot in people's least favorite book adaptations list.
Yeah,
But what they did with Aragon was they completely cut a lot out of the book and then crammed the stuff that they kept into a 1.5 hour movie, which was which is shorter than the Harry Potter movies. And and even then, they managed to make the long. It's like 1.5 hours is shorter than the shortest Harry Potter movie, which was based on the longest book. So I mean, um, the logic there is just crazy. Like
another one. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
that's all good. Like one that I hated sort of when I first saw, it, but then I've sort of grown to sort of love over time is the Golden Compass. Um, and that's more of a case of I really loved those books when I was a kid, so the movie just didn't live up to my expectations when I watched it. But then as time goes on, I just recently rewatched it again, and I kind of appreciated that movie a bit more. Especially after seeing the TV series that they did, like the TV series did it justice. Um, and for me, like just sort of kind of disappointed in is the Percy Jackson movies that they did. What were you about to say?
Oh, there was just one I had thought of that I did actually not like this movie at all, and while I in turn I read the whole book series when I found out the movie was coming out because I found out what the story was, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I'm gonna read the book first, go see the movie, compare them. I like to do that, and that is The Dark Tower. Uh, Felt like that was a really crappy adaptation of that. So yeah, that one, and also one that kind of I don't know if it's because I aged and maybe I just don't remember it the same way and don't maybe it's a nostalgia factor thing. I feel like they're stomping on my nostalgia, but the Goosebumps movie that just came out in like 2015, that one I didn't like that one. Even though R.L. Stein was actually in the movie and Jack Black, it didn't feel like the old Goosebumps books did to me as far as like how I took them in.
Um, yeah, the Goosebumps movies, I enjoyed because even though they, it's an all new kind of story that they chose to go a new way with.
Mhm.
The story that they came up with felt like it was a Goosebumps-esque story, but you had the twist at the end and
True.
all that. And even the second one I thought was actually really fun, even if it was a kind of a rehash ish of the first one. But Brian in the chat has mentioned that he enjoyed the 2005 version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That was one that I have on my favorites list is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I know it's based off of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book. And I know Roald Dahl actually didn't like Gene Wilder. He didn't like the focus on Willy Wonka. He didn't like the singing. He had a lot of problems with that movie himself. But it's a book that I really like. It's a movie that I really like. So it's to as far as my own interpretations, I like it.
I mean, Brian was talking about the Johnny Depp one, which is the
Yeah,
remake.
yeah.
The newer
I
one,
was just saying
yeah,
the whatever year it was, so
70.
74, 6, something like that.
But I
That
mean, yeah. Um, but yeah, like for me, Princess Bride is also up there with ones that I do enjoy. I know there's some strange backlash to it now that people go, "Oh, I don't like it as much as I used to." I think it's really overrated, but
hmm.
um,
It
but
seems
yeah,
to go through like a cycle of like a cult following, and then oh, it's not as good as it seems kind of deal. But I like it for what it is. I mean, for God's sakes, Andre the Giant's in it. Like,
um,
Silence of the Lambs, that's another good one that I liked both versions of Thomas Harris.
yeah,
It's actually the sequel of Red Dragon. That's another one they went out of order. Speaking of um, like the Robert Langdon series, they started with the second one, went out of order, but that actually worked itself out. So
um,
it's possible.
what one was that?
That was Silence of the Lambs.
Oh
Is
yeah,
Yeah, it's the second one of the Red Dragon is the first one.
yeah. I mean, I think in saying that, that one they could kind of get away with because I believe Red Dragon is the one that was also known as Manhunter, which they've also always um. But I think it's one of those cases like Silence is like if you ask someone to name a book by Thomas Harris, the first one they're going to think of is Silence of the Lambs. So I
Yeah.
mean, um, but while you're talking, I did a bit of research and found a couple of upcoming book adaptations that are coming out this year. We're going to get a new version of Dune done by Denis Villeneuve.
Cool.
Um, it's coming out. Um, the Invisible Man is coming out next week. Actually,
Yeah.
um,
I
is
actually
it?
wanted to bring that one up, but go ahead.
Oh, you can continue talking about it.
No, go ahead. Since you're talking about it, go ahead. Because I didn't write anything down about it because it's not technically out yet, so I didn't want to bring it up.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, that does look really good. There's a new version of David Copperfield coming out, the personal history of David Copperfield. Um, Woman in the Windows, with Amy Adams in it, is coming out at some stage of the year. Um, Artemis Fowl, which is one I'm really hoping is good because I really love those books, it's been coming out, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and done by Disney, so that's going to be interesting. See, And there's bound to be a few others in the works that they'll probably be surprised about as time goes by. Because I mean, Emma surprised me when I actually heard that was being done. But any of those sort of upcoming ones that you're kind of interested in?
Um, The Invisible Man for sure. That one, like I said, I already was looking into that as soon as I started by trying to look everything up what was upcoming. Um, yeah, I mean, I always try to watch as many new releases as possible, so I'll probably try to catch all of them. A new one that I was gonna say that just came out recently that I had on my list that I totally missed here was Little Women um, by Louis May Alcott. The new version, not the 1994 one or any prior to that. I think there have been several, but yeah, the new one is, I think, very good. But yeah.
I mean, when it comes to those kind of like classic literature, they've probably been adapted many times for many different things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Brian, I did mention Artemis Fowl that's coming out. And as I said, Artemis Fowl is one of my favorite books I enjoyed reading when I was a kid. I think there's been a couple that has come out sort of recently that I haven't actually read, but I'm curious to see what this one is because um, if the year sort of goes on for what it looks like it's going to be, we're going to get a slow movie season, and we're not really going to get a lot of movies which are going to break past $1 billion potentially. I think if any, Artemis Fowl is probably one that on paper you would think would pass uh, at least $1 billion and make a lot of money at the box office at least anyway. With that being backed by Disney is at, at the end. But I mean, for two person panel, I think I've dragged this out as long as it can go. But it's a thanks for tuning in for this for the short episode, but it was still relatively fun. Um, Next week we've got the Invisible Man coming out. So I might do a topic based around that. I I haven't planned out what my next topic will be. I'll probably look at seeing what's happening and what's coming out. And if there's anything to do a topic on that I can come up with, I'll do it. But until sort of next time, Kevin, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook. That's probably the easiest place. I'm all over the fan leagues, and I'm on team. That's what she said on Warzone. We just got our first win this week, so check that out if you haven't already. And that's it.
Yeah, and you can find me sort of everywhere on the internet. I'm on Take Three hosting late night which is what I'm doing right now. I also host Rankum on Sundays, Saturdays rather. Tomorrow's topic is going to be movie soundtracks from the 2010s, which is going to be a lot of fun because we all know people love movies, but apparently music topics is one that's hard to get people for. But that's one of those ones that a lot of people are passionate about as well. So, going to. I think I cut out. I'm not sure if I did, but
Yeah, you froze up a little bit. Yep.
yeah. So you can find me over on Full Metal, hosting Full Metal Random. Next week's topic is going to be Friends, which is going to feature Peggy Gubbins taking on Nicholas Turg, taking on Prithvi Raj. So it's going to be a interesting battle. Peggy claims to know a lot about Friends, so we're going to find out.
Go, Peggy. That's my teammate.
And you can pretty much find me everywhere else on Twitter, Letterboxd, Stardust, and yeah, everywhere all the cool people are. And until next week, stay safe. As I take a long